Tropical weather peak of hurricane season, but the Atlantic remains quiet. Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to our weather news program. We are pleased to meet you again in this special edition, at a time when meteorological records show that September is always considered the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. In fact, September 10th each year is often referred to as the statistical peak of the entire season. Yet, contrary to the expectations of experts and the constant worries of coastal residents, the weather map over the past several days has painted a rather tranquil picture. There are no active tropical depressions, no named storms, and the entire Atlantic basin, from the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, to the offshore waters of the eastern United States, has been in a temporary lull. The question arises, does this mean this year's hurricane season has cooled down? The answer, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely not. Alongside the present calm, satellite imagery has revealed a noteworthy signal, a new tropical wave preparing to emerge off the West African coast. And it is precisely this system that may open the door for development as it moves into the main development region, MDR. That vast expanse of the tropical Atlantic where many of the strongest storms are typically seeded and nurtured. In today's bulletin, we will cover three key topics. First, an update on current conditions across the Atlantic and an explanation of why the peak of the season has been so quiet. Second, an in-depth analysis of the new tropical wave about to enter the ocean, including comparisons across the world's leading forecast models, ECMWF, GFS, ICON, and ensemble systems. Finally, we will take a look at today's weather across the United States, where notable changes are unfolding from the southeast to the west coast. The broadcast will close with a short Bible devotion, as a word of encouragement for those who seek it. Let us begin with the big picture. In the Gulf of Mexico, satellite images show only scattered convective clusters, with no organized circulation. The Caribbean is similar, numerous small thunderstorms, but no closed low strong enough to be classified as a depression. Off the U.S. East Coast, a frontal boundary is producing a band of showers and thunderstorms, but the system remains extratropical, lacking a warm core and lacking a closed surface low. Over the MDR, stretching from West Africa across the central Atlantic, only patchy convection is visible, with no consolidated center of rotation. This presents a paradox. While in many other years September 10th has featured at least one, often multiple, active tropical cyclones, this year the skies remain serene. The main reason lies in the presence of the Saharan air layer, SAL, a mass of hot, dry, dusty air that suppresses deep convection. In addition, strong wind shear at upper levels, ranging from 25 to 30 knots, has been common, tearing apart any nascent thunderstorm clusters. In short, the current environment has not yet fully opened the door for cyclone development. However, things could change rapidly in just a few days. Off the West African coast, a fresh tropical wave is poised to move over water. These are common disturbances formed along the African easterly jet, with new waves emerging every few days. Most fizzle after producing showers, but occasionally, when conditions align, they explode into major hurricanes. Many indicators suggest that this upcoming wave deserves attention. Forecast models offer different perspectives. The ECMWF, often called the Euro, is signaling the development of a distinct low once the wave moves offshore. Within 6 to 8 days, central pressure could dip to 1005 to 1003 MB, potentially the precursor of a tropical depression. The Euro's scenario is typical. The system strengthens as it moves westward, then curves northward under the influence of the subtropical ridge, eventually recurving safely out to sea. This is a common path for September storms in the Atlantic. The GFS model from the United States is more cautious. Over the next 7 to 10 days, it does not consistently close off a low in the MDR, keeping the wave as a loose cluster of convection. Occasionally, however, GFS introduces a more dramatic scenario, a large gyre in the western Caribbean or southern Gulf of Mexico, known as a Central American gyre, CAG. In that case, a storm could form close to land. Yet, Given the lack of support from the Euro and ensemble guidance, this remains a low-confidence outcome. Germany's icon model has another view. Known for being enthusiastic about intensification, icon is projecting a stronger system, with pressure dipping to 1001 to 1003 MB by late weekend. Interestingly, icon aligns with the Euro in showing development potential, but with an early northward turn and recurvature into the open ocean. We also note Euro AI, a hybrid forecast tool combining ECMWF data with machine learning algorithms. This system is more conservative. It tracks the wave across the MDR but maintains it as a weak disturbance. More of a flicker of potential than a green light. Ensemble models add further context. The ECMWF ensemble with 51 members shows numerous L symbols, possible lows, sprouting across the MDR after about a week. Stronger members tend to curve north early. Meanwhile, the GEFS, 21 GFS ensemble members, produces more scatter. Some indicate CAG development in the Western Caribbean. Others show nothing. This spread highlights the current uncertainty. In summary, models broadly agree that a wave will emerge from West Africa, with at least some potential to develop into a tropical system in mid to late September. They disagree on the speed of intensification and exact track. If it strengthens quickly, it will likely curve out to sea. If it remains weak, it could travel farther west, posing greater risk. Let's quickly review the checklist of conditions required for tropical cyclogenesis. Sea surface temperatures in the MDR are well above 27 degrees Celsius, warm enough to fuel storms. Mid-level humidity needs to be above 60% to sustain a warm core. Though the SAL has limited this, forecasts suggest the SAL may weaken in the coming week. Wind shear needs to be under 20 knots. Higher values shear apart developing systems. Finally, a defined low-level circulation is required, ideally supported by planetary scale waves like Kelvin waves or the Madden-Julian oscillation to sustain convection. From this, we can outline 3 scenarios for the next 7 to 12 days. Scenario 1. Most likely, the wave develops moderately, curves northward early, and recurves harmlessly into the open Atlantic. Scenario 2. Moderate likelihood, the wave remains weak, crosses the MDR with limited development, and fades. Scenario 3. Less likely, a CAG feature forms in the Western Caribbean or Southern Gulf, producing a closer-to-land threat. Now, turning to U.S. weather today. Across Florida and the Southeast, scattered thunderstorms are expected, particularly from Orlando southward. The Miami-Fort Lauderdale area should watch for localized flooding during rush hours. In Virginia and coastal North Carolina, a weak offshore low will bring persistent drizzle and keep daytime highs capped at only 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, producing an autumn-like feel. In the plains, showers will sweep across Kansas, Oklahoma, and the Texas Panhandle, with pockets of gusty winds. The upper Midwest and Great Lakes will be relatively calm, with only light showers around Michigan and Green Bay. Out west, Northern California and Oregon will see scattered storms, while the interior Great Basin remains dry and under wildfire alerts. National temperature patterns show clear contrasts. The Northeast and Mid-Atlantic are cool and pleasant, ranging from 15 to 25 degrees Celsius. Ideal for early fall. The Southeast remains warm but tolerable, between 27 to 31 degrees Celsius. Central U.S. temperatures are gradually warming but not extreme. Along the Pacific coast, temperatures are running below average, creating comfortable conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, the key takeaway is this: a quiet statistical peak does not mean a quiet season. History reminds us that many seasons with calm early September conditions erupted into a flurry of storms later in the month. Coastal residents should remain vigilant, stay tuned to official updates, and be prepared for rapid changes. Before we close, let us reflect on a brief Bible devotion. In James, it is written, "Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." These words hold deep strength. Just as storms seek out the weakest points in the atmosphere, where moisture and favorable winds align, life's trials often strike at our weakest places. But when we strengthen our roots in faith and values, those storms cannot endure. The message today is, nourish your roots, not just your leaves. A tree with lush foliage but rotten roots will eventually fall. A life that shines outwardly but lacks inner depth struggles to find joy. Care for your roots, your soul, your faith, your love. When the roots are strong, even storms will pass by. Dear friends, this concludes today's bulletin. We will continue to monitor the tropical wave off West Africa and bring you updates as soon as new signals appear. If you have concerns to share or prayer requests for us to remember, please leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay with us each day. We wish you peace, and we'll see you again in our next forecast.